Thanks for checking out my micro drawings channel. Today I'm starting with the Q-tip and quarter for reference, and there is the Copic 0.03 multi-liner black pen I use to get the line drawing in place. After that I use a sketch marker, a Copic sketch marker, the fine tip end to add the color. I usually start with facial features of the characters. Doing that here, I've got the small little nose of Kelvin to get us started. Then from that, I'm adding his spaceman glasses. And this is based on Bill Watterson's original, it's from Kelvin and Hobbes, Spaceman Spiff. Bill Watterson had Kelvin and Hobbes, I believe it was from 1985 to 1995, syndicated comic strip. And he's just unbelievable, really cool. Really captured the imagination of kids everywhere. In this case, it's Kelvin being Spaceman Spiff, able to travel through space in a spaceship, and just really fun drawing these and kind of reliving some of those comics that I would read in my youth. I remember going to the library and getting a Kelvin and Hobbes book for the week, reading it, multiple times through, but just really neat. The expressions on the characters and the wit and the sarcasm and his mom and dad involved, and of course Hobbes. Just a lot of fun. So in this case, I worked around, his mouth and his cheek, chin, put the trademark spiky hair up at the top. There's the bow of his glasses. And just lightly touching it in there. Some of the hair, I don't really want solid lines, so I'm just barely brushing that tip against the paper. Give it a little more wispy look. There you can see the Q-tip covers it up pretty good. I've been meaning to get to this drawing for a while. I just kept getting distracted with others. Again, fun, the imagination that Bill Watterson uses. The other day I was having an important conversation with a few of my boys about which would be the better superpower, being invisible or being able to teleport. Those are the deep philosophical conversations I have in my life. I think being invisible would be better, but this reminds me of the teleporting option. So at any rate, there I worked his hands in. He's got some special space gloves on, holding the steering wheel of the spaceship. Working around the back there, adding his chair. Space seat, I suppose. Again, just going kind of lightly there to add it in, and then darkening where his, black where his chair is. And then continuing to add behind him. Again, thanks for checking out the channel. Please consider subscribing and sharing this with other people that might be interested. If you subscribe, you get to see the other updates of other things I draw in micro drawing format. Yesterday, I also posted a Snoopy drawing and a northern pike fish drawing. So there's a Q-tip for reference and a quarter for reference. So pretty much have Kelvin laid out there in the spaceship. Now I need to build his spaceship around him. And so bringing the Copic 0.03 multi-liner black pen in again. Sorry for the shadow there. I should have rotated the paper so the shadow from my light was out of the way. So there's the bubble shield around him. And then connecting that and going out front with the spaceship. And I'm just looking back at Kelvin in his seat and kind of making that proportionate reference and drawing this out. I suppose those are steering fins of some sort, kind of like on the underside of a kayak or boat, sailboat maybe. And they're bringing that around. And then there's two little headlamps or headlights, getting those in there. And in this case, just adding a little shadowing or shading to give a little three-dimensional feel to it. And then I'm just quote-unquote coloring that in with the black multiliner. And I'll continue to work on the spaceship here. Sorry for the hesitation. Sometimes I'm just double checking what I want to do before I put that pen down on the paper. I don't have a method. I suppose I could use whiteout, but if I screw up with the black pen here, I have to either correct it by working it into the drawing a little bit, or I just start over, which I often do. And that's something you don't see on these videos is the multiple misstarts where I get going on the paper on the drawing and then end up throwing it away. So you just see the good one that comes through. Here I'm just adding some additional outside details on the spaceship. I suppose little hatches to be able to work on the engine or something. There's a quarter for reference again, and a Q-tip for reference. And I'm getting ready to use the Copic sketch markers to add some color to it. So off to the side, I've got another piece of paper that I will try out the markers on, make sure I have got the right ones. By this time with Kelvin and Hobbes, I've got it pretty much nailed down to the red and the yellow I want to use. Kelvin's usually got his red striped shirt on. And so there I'm just bringing that fine tip up to the black lines. It will bleed into the paper just a little bit, so I have to account for that by not getting too close to that black line and actually letting it bleed up to it a little bit. So there I'm working around. A lot of times I'll rotate the paper so that I can more easily work that fine tip up to that line like I'm doing right here. So again, just lightly touching it. If I would hold that marker there and push hard, the whole drawing would be red. And I would start over again. All right, so there we go. The spaceship is colored. Here I'm going to put a pencil down for reference. You can see the spaceship. It's a little longer than that silver piece that's connecting the eraser to the wood pencil, but still pretty small. Kelvin himself is pretty small, but by the time you build the spaceship around him, it gets a little bigger. And there's yellow Copic sketch marker there. No, this is the cotton pearl. Sorry, adding his skin tone in there. When I'm going to have some colors in close proximity or touching or close to each other, I'll do the light color first, so that if I do have any bleed over, the darker color can take care of the edge. So in this case, I colored in his skin tone there. And pretty much all I have left is to add the yellow for his hair and the headlights and then his gloves. So here comes the yellow. There, I'm just trying to barely touch it. These markers will blend together. They're an alcohol-based ink, but I didn't want it to blend into the headlights there, so I just barely touched it with the fine tip point there. And here comes the yellow hair of Kelvin. Just lightly putting that in there. There we go. And I was trying to decide if his gloves needed to be a different tone of yellow or value of yellow, I suppose tone, or his pencil for reference. I ended up just using the same as the headlights and the hair. But that's what I'm checking out off to the side is the different colors. I should probably show that sometime. I set my camera up on a stand above me, so I don't really have a lot of mobility to show what I'm doing off to the side. Oh, in this case, yeah, I added some dark gray. I think it was a Cool Shadow number 3 gray for his surroundings there in the spaceship. So just lightly putting that in. Just gently touching that. And evaluating here. And there I realized I left off part of the, I guess, shadow on the bubble glass. And just cleaning up the edge of it here a little bit too with the Copic 0.03. I always seem to see a little bit more that I want to do. There, the fin too. I'd forgotten to put the dark shading on that one. So I always like to reevaluate. And of course, there's always room for improvement on everything. But at some point, you get to a point where you're just finished. So here's a Q-tip for reference again. And pencil for reference as well. So you can see how small that ends up being. And here I came back to the gloves then. I just decided to go with the same yellow that I'd used previously. So his space suit, his shoulders, and his little gloves there. And then I decided I think I got it pretty good. So the final step here is putting today's date, July 9th of 2020. And like I said, never seemed to quite be done. Then I realized, hey, I didn't put any of the space smoke or exhaust coming off the spaceship. Poor guy's got to have that, otherwise he's not going anywhere. So I drew that in with the black multi-liner, added a little bit. I think I used a C5 maybe, a cool shadow color on that one. And there we go. Thanks again for watching. And again, please share, please subscribe. Here's a quarter for reference. Thank you.